This was pieced together from different evidence and investigation, the painstaking and excellent work of our arson investigators, the Los Angeles Fire Department. In fact, I was able to see some dash cam footage of somebody who was driving by, one of our first 911 callers, and she saw an explosion on the side of the road. We were able to see that, and that was the moment we believe this fire began. That branch came from a tree which is about 25 feet away in distance and up another 20 feet up the hill. We will get some detail from our general manager of the Department of Water and Power about the maintenance work that's been done as late as July around that, way beyond what the standard is. This was simply put, in plain parlance, an act of God. That the wind broke off a tree branch, through that tree branch because of these strong winds far enough to cause a spark off a line that is still intact there, but you can see a little bit of the damage on it. Most likely caused those sparks to fall and begin this fire, and then we were off to the races. That is something that we'll continue to spend the next couple of days to document, but we feel that that is now conclusive. I want to turn over to the fire chief to give any more detail about that, and the general manager of the Department of Water and Power to speak about what we do to maintain our power lines. I do want to caution folks, because we know there's a lot of stories about power lines, fires starting. This is not one in which we see any failure of equipment or something in which spontaneous sparks flew off of equipment. We know this in the business of delivering electricity to our customers all the time. Mylar balloons, as I've always said, don't use them. They cause as much as 15% of our fires when they get on power lines. We see other things that hit power lines all the time, causing accidental fires, and that even cause power outages. So we want to make sure that folks know that, continue to educate themselves about that, but I'll be back in a moment to speak about the fire and tonight and the evacuations, but let me turn it over to Ralph Terrasas, the chief of our Los Angeles Fire Department, to say a couple words as well. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start off by saying thank you to our hardworking arson investigators who have been working tirelessly since the early morning hours of Monday, almost 36 hours ago. We've never put out a cause this quickly before in a major brush fire incident. I have viewed the video, as the mayor stated, the same video that he saw, I saw. I've seen multiple photographs of from multiple angles. I still had some unknown questions for our arson investigators. They've been drilling down on those questions. They've answered everything that I'd been concerned about, except for one thing. That's the land on which the tree sits. That's still being investigated, but we didn't want to hold up giving you an answer based on that one issue. So I have met with Marty Adams about a year ago. We started talking about brush mitigation efforts. They have a very robust brush mitigation plan. I've been very impressed with what they have been doing and will continue to do. We're working together on a wildfire alert camera system that will assist us in early detection of any brush fires within the city of Los Angeles. So I'm very confident in the results that our arson investigators came up with. It is an accidental cause. There is no evidence of a homeless encampment, no evidence of arson. It is an accidental start.
Thank you. Marty Adams is the general manager of the Department of Water and Power. Mr. Adams, if you come forward and also speak about what we've done around those lines and what the standard is for keeping brush clearance around our power lines in the city.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon. As we're dealing with this fire situation, we recognize that we're always looking for the cause of the fire. In this case, as the mayor spoke about and the chief reiterated, we had a tree branch outside of our clearance zone that, due to the high winds, was blown off the tree into the power lines that were live feeding the neighborhood. We had just completed brush clearance in that area and tree trimming just recently as July this last summer. And so we had trimmed about 248 trees in the stretch right around the crest of the Sepulveda Pass, dealing around those power lines, in excess of what the state requires for tree clearance. So we do have a robust clearance program. We actually monitor a program of over 400,000 trees that we keep a tab on every year to make sure that the vegetation is cleared away from our power lines. That said, As the mayor noted, there was no failure of the electric system in this case. Fortunately, everything was intact. The wire was still standing, was still continuing to deliver power to the neighborhood, but the tree branch basically landed across the lines, causing it to arc or to short circuit and send off sparks. And it was those sparks that hit the ground that then resulted in the fire that we see. We continue to aggressively, work on our system to make sure that it's hardened in every way. The power system is constructed beyond the standards. We've spaced our wires out further, about 3 times further than the standards require, to try to avoid the chance of arcing between the lines, avoid the chance of lines slapping together during high winds. We proactively patrol all of our system to make sure that we have solid connections so that we don't have failure on the lines themselves or where they attach to the poles and towers. And that's one of the reasons that we do not proactively believe we need to have shutoffs of power in Los Angeles. That especially the fact that we're close partners with Chief Terrazas and the whole LA City Fire Department, who are always at hand and close call, very different than you see in other areas of the state where they have a lot of rural areas. But in our city area, we know we need to deliver reliable power all the time, and our close partnership and be able to respond is what allows us to continue to do this even during wind events. In this unfortunate situation, it could have been a tree branch, could have been a palm frond from across the freeway, a Mylar balloon. Any of those things entering into the area are things that we cannot control, and so that makes the challenge of how to deliver reliable power at the same time be vigilant on a windy day such as we had these last few days. So we're working now to support the LA Fire Department as they're putting out the fire. We're restoring power in the areas that are affected, where poles have been burned and houses have been damaged, and at the same time also make sure that they have adequate and adequate water supply to make sure they can fight the fire both on the ground and with the aircraft that they have. So if there's any questions,
thank you. Thank you very much, Marty, and that is a great reminder that our Department of Water and Power not only delivers our electricity, but the water that we're using to fight this fire as well, and thank you for that. So again, this was accidental cause. The standard is about 4 feet in high-risk areas. It's only a few inches in the lower risk areas. This was something which we had more than 24 feet of clearance, but again, an act of God, wind that was able to see that. It was a eucalyptus tree, by the way, and that was in the 18 to 1900 North Sepulveda block that this occurred in. The ownership, we're still not sure. The latest information we have is that it used to be part of something called the Santa Monica Land and Water Company. We're not sure if that's now in the hands of the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy, Caltrans, City. We're not sure, but we will give you that information as soon as we have it. Second thing I wanted to update folks on is as we look at the evening hours, and I mentioned some of this earlier, but we have even more detail on this. We have a rare issue from the National Weather Service of an extreme wind event tonight. We're looking at gusts that, as we mentioned, could be 70, even 80 miles an hour. We do something that's called a brush index, which puts together our humidity, our heat, and also the strength of our winds. I think that I was talking with the chief, and the highest we had last year was about a 266. That was just before the Thomas fire. Tomorrow's index is 301. So for folks who are right now anxious to get home, please listen to that number very carefully. That is something which we have never seen since we've been putting this brush index together. And in the worst days, we have seen that before fires start. We already know that the fuel for fuel for the conditions like that exists right now in a fire that is 15% contained. So that is why we, with an abundance of caution and throwing the resources we need here while covering ourselves in other parts of the city tonight where those conditions will also be met. This is hot air that's being pushed from the desert, drying out these canyons for the last few days. Combine that with the extreme wind that we will have and humidity, which now is expected tomorrow to drop into the single digits. This is a terribly dangerous moment. So we will continue to protect and defend this city with everything that we have, but that's the reason why those mandatory evacuations will continue. It is still 656 acres, 15% contained, 12 homes damaged, and 12 homes destroyed, 5 homes damaged. Updated closures we have right now are westbound Sunset from 405 to Temescal, and southbound Sepulveda from Skirball to Sunset remain closed. The Westwood and Palisades rec centers are open overnight for evacuation centers for folks that have no other shelter. Together with the Red Cross, we have beds, we have food, and everything else that you need. And finally, I'll say in Spanish what the cause of the fire was, and then open up to any questions as well. La causa de este incendio, nosotros hemos concluido, fue la caída de una rama de un árbol en el Boulevard de Sepúlveda, a 25 pies de distancia, que golpeó la línea eléctrica. Esto causó la línea chispeara y el incendio empezó. La investigación de este fuego por el Departamento de Bomberos, juntos con el Departamento de Electricidad y Agua y compañías de aseguranza, la conclusión fue la misma entre las tres. Este fue la causa de este incendio. With that, happy to answer any questions or refer those to my colleagues. And thank you again to Councilmember Mike Bonin, who is here with us, who's been here, I don't know when this guy sleeps, and our State Senator Ben Allen, who's been really an extraordinary leader. And thanks again for Governor Newsom's presence here today. That meant a lot. Questions?
To what degree did the video help to seal the deal? Because I know typically these things take weeks or sometimes months.
Yeah, it's a combination of all the evidence, the burn patterns, the eyewitness statements, the video. Our arson investigators actually called multiple 911 callers who initially reported the brush fire. Combined with the physical evidence on scene, the video has been released to the media. We came to the conclusion that we can say most likely this fire caused by that branch being blown off and landing on the power lines, creating arcing and sparking into the brush. Once again, they did it in record-setting time. I know there's a lot of interest in this cause, and we're confident in the results.
Other questions?
Can I ask if this tree was something that should have been trimmed, or how tree maintenance plays into this?
Sure. That's what we tried to give you the detail with DWP. Usually it's with the non-high areas, it's a 6-inch standard?
18 inches.
18-inch standard. In high areas, it was 4 feet, and this was at least 25 feet away horizontally and further up. So I can't do my old geometry hypotenuse squared, but let's say like 35 feet away. So it was way above and beyond not only the standard, but what we do, which is above that standard times 3 or 4. So it literally is one of those kind of acts of God, I would say. Yes, sir.
Okay, a live news conference from the Getty Fire Command Center. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti speaking with other officials, and arson investigators have determined that this Getty fire was ignited when a tree branch fell on some power lines, confirmed by both video as well as photos and also eyewitnesses. So we do know the cause, and quite early. Usually you don't know it this quickly.
It's reassuring to know that this was not intentionally set, which is always a concern, especially when these fires start by the freeway, in this case by the 405 freeway right near the Getty Center. So this was accidental, but it also serves as a warning as we go into another wind event starting overnight tonight with wind gusts that could be the strongest that we have seen, perhaps not just this year, but in many years. We have to be vigilant. This branch apparently blew off of a tree onto the power line, and as the gentleman said, it could have been a palm frond, it could have been any situation, so we have to be very careful out there as we go forward into this wind event. And Dallas Raines joins us right now to talk more about what's in store for us starting late tonight. Dallas?
That's right, David. It is later tonight, after midnight tonight, because right now it's calm across Southern California. It's a beautiful afternoon. This is our live shot from down at Malibu. Not much wind going on around Southern California, but an extreme red flag condition will begin after midnight tonight. And these wind velocities, especially early in the morning hours, will blow with gusts up to 70 and 80 miles per hour. So that's hurricane velocity gusts through Southern California canyons. So again, red flag warnings will be issued, and we'll keep those going for you all the way through 6 p.m. on Thursday. Now, the winds on Thursday will not be as strong, but it will still be windy and really, really dry during the day tomorrow and again on Thursday. Therefore, a high wind warning has been issued. Anytime we're expecting these types of wind speeds in the gust category, we have to issue that high wind warning. So that covers most of Southern California, as you can see, beginning later tonight. Right now it's 70 degrees downtown. Notice the winds are coming on from the ocean. Very light to moderate winds across Southern California. It's been a delightful day after a cool morning. 71 out in Ontario, 52 degrees right now at Big Bear Lake. Down in Anaheim, you're at 69. And this will be a mild Santa Ana wind event too. That is one of the good things, is when you're looking at everything combined, which is is critical, no doubt. It will not be a hot Santa Ana wind. Temperatures tomorrow will stay around 68 to 72 throughout most of Southern California during the course of the afternoon. I'll have more weather for you. We'll look at the forecast beyond the red flags in just a few minutes.
All right, Dallas, thank you.
Okay, thank you, David.
In the meantime, Governor Gavin Newsom is in town touring the areas left ravaged by the Getty Fire.
While evacuated residents briefly return home to check on their properties, they're already on edge about more extreme fire weather moving in this evening.
And Eyewitness News reporter Giovanna Lotta is live in Brentwood with more from those evacuated from the fire zone. Giovanna.
David and Ellen, a dozen homes were lost in the Getty Fire. Another 5 were damaged, and as we know, thousands of people were evacuated. Today, some of those evacuated residents are returning here, hoping to get past the closures and allowed briefly into their homes. And that's what you're looking behind me. You're seeing at the line. You're looking at the line of residents who are waiting for police escorts. Also today, officials telling us the fire did grow overnight. Firefighters spending the entire day knocking down hot spots to get ready for that extreme high wind event expected tonight.
Been a little nerve-wracking.
Getty Fire evacuees wait patiently for one-on-one police escorts back to their homes. Residents required to show ID, and only those needing important medications are allowed a short visit.
Going up there, trying to get some medication and some clothes, and then see how it goes tonight.
Well, this is our second evacuation here. This one's definitely hits close to home. We're on Green Craig, which is right next to Tiger Tail. But we Skirball also evacuated. So I have a 5-year-old daughter. I feel like this is just part of the norm now.
As firefighters continue targeting hotspots, containment is now at 15%. More than 7,000 homes in the mandatory evacuation zone, and there's no word when evacuations will be lifted. The fire department not taking any chances with the Santa Ana winds coming overnight, expected to be one of the biggest wind events of the season so far.
I want to reiterate our concern for tonight. The wind is picking up starting at 11 and lasting throughout the night, peaking approximately 3 a.m. It does take one ember, just one ember downwind to start another brush fire. So I encourage all people in the city of Los Angeles and the neighboring communities to register for alerts at Notify LA by texting 888-777.
Today, Governor Gavin Newsom getting an up-close look at the damage left behind on Tiger Tail Road with the fire chief and Mayor Garcetti.
We toured this area. There are still embers throughout this territory. We've got crews that are on the ground digging up those hot spots, putting them out, soaking them. We still have all of our air assets of our helicopters working.
Those people that are affected should know that we're doing all we can to ensure that this fire is cold. When we think it's safe, we will open up the evacuation area.
Okay, and bear in mind, now not all residents have been allowed back into their homes, even briefly. We've seen several residents turned away by police officers, and as we've heard from firefighters, it is with good reason, because these evacuation orders are in place for, in light of that extreme high wind event coming later tonight. We're live near Brentwood. Giovanna Lotta, ABC7 Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Giovanna. With another windstorm moving in, more than 200,000 SoCal Edison customers face the possibility of losing their power.
It would be a preemptive move by the utility to try to reduce the fire risk. And now Rob Hayes is live with more of the story. Rob?
Yeah, it looks like another couple of days of planned outages and power uncertainty. The big concern, of course, is that high winds will blow debris into power lines like this one, sparking a wildfire. And now another high wind event could mean more proactive outages. Welcome to another round of SoCal Edison planned outages. More than 200,000 homes now being warned that they could see their electricity cut. And when the power goes down, temperatures go up.
It's like living in a third world country. Today we might have power, maybe we won't. Who wants to live like this?
Melvin Chicato is upset because he owns Acton Ice Delivery. A lack of power can quickly turn ice into water, and water won't pay his bills.
We manage, but it's